Hello everyone, welcome back. Before I jump into this topic, let me give you a brief context for this particular video. Let me give the example of our national obsession during summers, Alfonso Mango. Alfonso Mango becomes a perfect national obsession for India during the mango season, and certain gastronomic events or the set of events which actually curate the most fascinating foods of all time. There are some thousand best foods to have. Within that, there is also this Alfonso mango. It is almost 10 times the price of a normal mango. So this is generally found in the Devgarh place around Maharashtra, and the unique taste, extreme sweetness and superior quality can be attributed to the volcanic soils there and the particular geography of that region. So they are extremely expensive. That is the point that you have to know. What is the guarantee that some other fruit produced in different areas with a similar texture, they can be duped as Alfonso mangoes by certain methods? How can you give the identity and the uniqueness associated with Alfonso mango to Maharashtra alone or the places where it actually grows? Because Alfonso mangoes are mostly exported, so it gives a lot of revenue to the country and also to the farmers there. But it also takes a lot of effort to produce these because they are produced in a very limited quantity. Now, if someone dupes uh, an Alfonso mango or replicates this Alfonso mango and claim that to be the Alfonso mango, they are losing out on actual revenue because the cost of production is much lesser. So, in such a situation, what is the safety? Here is where the concept of geographical indication comes into picture. So till now we have understood GI only from the perspective of preliminary examination, but as time evolves and the government is focusing upon ensuring the seriousness associated with GI to ensure higher export revenue to the farmers, this concept of GI becomes all the more important. So let us try to understand this concept and also at the same time look at this topic from the perspective of mains. So that is the agenda of this video. So this video is actually a compilation of many articles which are posted in the Telegram channel Hindu Highlights along with the analysis. So those who are not following it, I request you to please join that channel. And to proceed further with this, we are looking at the economic benefits of geographical indication as a topic. But before we proceed further, let us understand the definition. A geographical indication is a sign used on products that have a specific geographical origin. Like in the case of this Alfonso mango, we're talking about the Devgarh place in Maharashtra and the surrounding areas. And like you can see in the case of Alfonso mango, the qualities and reputation are because of the geography of that region, which gives the unique taste to that product or the fruit. Similarly, you have a lot of examples as you can see in this picture, like Darjeeling tea, Coorg Arabica coffee, Kashmiri saffron, etc. etc. And this is not just specific to agricultural products, but it is also specific to certain art forms. Like, say, for example, Madhubani paintings in Bihar, they also have the geographical indication tag, or the Nakshi Kanta of West Bengal, they also have the geographical indication tag, or the Orissa Ikat. So basically, anything or any product which is of economic value and has its uniqueness because of the geography or the culture associated with a particular geography, that product will or can apply for geographical indication to maintain that higher price or exclusivity. So this is the economic benefit or the prima facie benefit of the concept of geographical indication. In mains answers, you have to be very specific. So the multidimensionality aspect should be brought into the picture, and this is where this video is trying to add some value. We know geographical indication as a topic in prelims, especially from economic angle, but it also has certain social implications and other implications which we shall try to address in this video. So like obviously economic significance can be understood because since these products are very localized in nature, they not only help in preservation of biodiversity, traditional knowledge and natural resources, but they also empower the local communities by increasing their revenue. So if the government recognizes a particular mango as a Alfonso mango and gives it a GI tag, a farmer from no other place can claim his mango to be a Alfonso mango, and it is illegal to do so. Naturally, only this Alfonso mango will have the 10x revenue compared to a normal mango, and it is completely justified because of the demand supply equation. Like, supply is very limited and the demand is very high. Therefore, naturally, according to economic principles, the person who is willing to pay more should be acquiring that commodity. Same logic applies here as well because of the issue of exclusivity. The second aspect that we have to look at is social empowerment. So, if you take a look at all these products, they are predominantly rural based. So, encouraging GI will solve the issue of poor pay for talent. Like, say, for example, all these art forms, the Ikat saris of Orissa or Madhubani paintings in Bihar, naturally they don't get the kind of price they deserve for such extraordinary talent. And one important point that you have to note here is a lot of these art forms are generally female driven. So it also ensures this problem of low female participation in the labor force. Like, say, for example, in 2019 it is just 21%, but the global average was 47%. The traditional mindset of ensuring only corporate jobs will not work in a country like ours, because we have such a wide and diverse communities across the country, and we don't have to look at economic employment through the homogeneous lens of MNCs itself. So even GI tax can empower women and increase their revenues. So that is also a method of social empowerment. And obviously, if they have enough money at their disposal in the rural areas, urban migration, which is usually distress driven, will not happen. So it will also solve the problem of distress migration to the urban areas. And issues that we have seen during the COVID lockdown might not occur, as rural employment will increase. So rural wages will also increase. So that is the next advantage for this GI tag. The next advantage is that it creates a passion economy. Now, what do you mean by passion economy? Um, we see a lot of multinational company workers who are not interested in their jobs, and they wanted to pursue art or any passion of their own. Say, for example, in the case of Madhubani paintings, if anyone is interested in this painting as an art form and wants to pursue that out of passion, the only reason that is stopping them is lack of sustainable livelihood. Now, if GI tags are ensured and there is a good market for these products, obviously it will create a passion economy and provide ways for a new way for individuals to monetize their skills. Now, with the advent of e-commerce, like, say, for example, Amazon, this became even more easier. Like, people are making sales through Instagram and other social media platforms as well. Obviously it will create employment, because if the person with a vision wants to provide employment for the rural ladies, like in rural areas, if women participation increases, it will also generate employment. And also you can extend this idea to self-help groups and also cooperative societies. So this will lead to inclusive development and inclusive growth as well. So you can address all these points. Obviously, like we have already discussed, it will arrest the distress migration aspect as well. In mains examination, you need certain data pointers to corroborate your claims. So if you take a look at the MSMEs in our country, 31% of India's GDP comes from these MSME, and 45% of the exports is actually done by MSME. To all these MSME companies, geographical indications are the GI tax is a huge opportunity, because it will increase the revenue multifold. Now, what is the point that you have to remember or really quote in your examination? An estimated 55.8 million MSMEs employ close to 130 million people. That is a very big number. And 14% are women led enterprises, and almost 60% are rural areas. So the issue of non-farm employment in rural areas can be partially solved by just identifying the products which have huge markets like GI tags. Alternatively, to witness these Alfonso mangoes or any specific products that are unique to that geography, GI tourism will actually increase in that area. So this is also additional source of revenue for that particular geography. Like already discussed, we can even tap into e-commerce. Like say for example, you have the Amazon's local to global program. You can quote this in your answers. What they try to do, it is taken from a newspaper Live Mint article. This example, that article quoted two company names, like say Delta Leather Corporation Leather and SV Organic Products. Amazon actually took this products to almost 18 global markets, which covers nearly 200 countries. It's a huge opportunity for these companies. So obviously it increases demand, and it is also uh, increasing the company size. Say in this case, more than 300 times increase happened. It's a huge opportunity. So what the government must be doing here is make rules for e-commerce companies to tap into these rural enterprises and empower them. So for this, we need to have a comprehensive e-commerce policy as well. So this can be a part of your answer as well. So don't look at GI in isolation without e-commerce, because a product is as good as its marketing, and e-commerce play a huge role in this supply chain. Now the next point that you have to understand is what are the major challenges faced by goods while applying for this GI status. The first one is the problem of origin of goods. Now, what is this problem of origin of good? The first question is how can you actually trace a product that is claimed to be from a particular geography is indeed unique. So this traceability shows the complete journey of how sustainably the fruit was harvested and distributed. So to solve this issue, like in the case of Alfonso mangoes, geotagging was done. But for a lot of products, this is not yet a reality. And because of this, fake products are coming into the picture. Even bigger problem is this issue of registration of geographical indication because of low awareness. A lot of farmers in a particular geography are not really aware of this GI concept. Third one is monitoring and controlling the specified processes. So there is an issue of fake certification as well, and the government is still trying to stop this menace of fake certifications. And after that, there is also a lack of post registration activity follow up, like say in the terms of utilizing this GI certificate and actually marketing it, or the quality of GI protected goods, how are they going to be ensured? And it is generally found that producers have not really attempted in most of the registered products, like to safeguard that GI tag and realize the economic potential, mostly because of lack of awareness. So that is one issue. And just like in the case of piracy, there is also infringement of the geographical indication, that is fake GIs. So enforcement of this entire GI regime is a big headache for the government because of lack of capacities probably. So in way forward, what should we write? First one is obviously capacity building, because you can see in the most of the cases of the issues, it is mostly because of lack of capacity, either to create awareness or to enforce it. So GI businesses are, like we have discussed, micro in nature, like they're small industries yet to see the kind of growth, except in a few cases like the case study of Amazon's local to global program. Most of them are in micro industries only. So it is necessary to address the challenge of the capacity building. So you have to give them enough money, or credit access should be given, and the ability to form market linkages should be actually encouraged by the government officials. Research and development into the possibility of enhancing the market or identifying the GI products, the traditional knowledge, all this should come into the picture. So the groundwork for MSME access to formal credit has already been done. Like say in the case of account aggregated data sharing framework. Now, what is this account aggregated data sharing framework? Let us understand in brief. Imagine you are a person X, you have your money saved in a savings bank account in a bank. You invested in certain mutual funds, and that mutual funds and stock data is stored in your demat account. And then you also paid some insurance, and this insurance information is available in insurance companies. Naturally, when banks are lending, they want to have a complete picture of your financial position. Since the data is not at a single place, the banks are not in a position to take a informed decision whether to give you a loan or not, especially in the case of MSME directors and the people involved in MSME businesses. Because of this reason, since they don't have the complete picture, they usually avoid taking risk, and it becomes very difficult for these companies to get loans. So when we're talking about ease of getting credit access, this account aggregated data sharing framework, which is brought out by RBI to allow what we know today as account aggregators, uh, to collect data from all these sources and give a picture to this money lenders. What this will ensure is it will give a better picture of your financial position, and it becomes easier to have loans. So this is what mainstreaming GI also requires. So you can add that point here in the capacity building point. Obviously, you need digital presence. Online presence becomes all the more important in this times of COVID, and we have seen how digital businesses have actually grown multifold. The third idea is to encourage this concept of cooperative bodies in rural areas to ensure the collective bargaining power actually increases in rural areas. And the last point that you have to note is obviously to stop this problem of digital divide, ensure that there is digital literacy. Like in the case of rural population, they should know how to access internet, how to access government websites, how to access social media to promote their products. All this will encourage a new economy, and that is why the government has been so particular about GI tax. If you have seen in the recent times, a lot of information is coming on GI tax. So even in prelims, a lot of students were expecting questions on this GI tax and by hearting all that trivial information. But I see that it is very unlikely to be asked in prelims. What I'm expecting is a question in mains now because of the complexity involved in this entire issue. However, what is the law that governs GI tax in our country, and who ensures these GI tags are given? Please post your answers in the comment section below. So that's it for now. I hope this video is helpful. Thanks for watching.